Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another video. It is the player ratings then. Fleetwood Town 0, Everton 1. Everton progress to the third round of the Carabao Cup with tonight's win in what was an enthralling game of football that we were all sat on the edge of our seats for 90 minutes for. No, it really wasn't. It wasn't a great game of football, but it doesn't matter because Everton have won and we are certainly not in the position to be sitting here after an Everton win moaning about how, exciting or non-exciting a game of football was. We've won a game. It's the first time we've won a game for what feels like about 15 years. It's the first time we've won a competitive game for a long, long time. So, let's not moan about how enthralling it may or may not have been, and let's just appreciate that we've won a game of football. This is the player ratings. We have done the instant match reaction. If you want to go and check that out, please do so after this live stream. It is up on the channel now. But let's get straight into it. Frank Lampard obviously made a whole load of changes going into this one, especially in the defensive lineup. Asmir Begovic started in goal. I'm going to give Asmir a 6.5 out of 10. I don't think he did anything wrong. I don't think he had an awful amount to do. He made a couple of good saves. There was a couple of times that I think Fleetwood players were given a little bit too much time, a little bit too much space in and around the area, and they let fly a couple of times. And Asmir Begovic was where he needed to be, when he needed to be there. I don't particularly think he made any outstanding saves that make you sit here and go, oh my God, that was unbelievable. He did make one tricky one from a Reese Welsh back header, which was a little bit troubling, and he dealt with it as you would expect him to deal with. But yeah, pretty good performance, nothing wrong with it. Solid run out for Asmir Begovic. Obviously good to see him get a run out, because he is a solid number two, and hoping Jordan Pickford remains fit. That would mean obviously Asmir Begovic doesn't get too many games, so it's always nice to see him, getting out there. And as I said, I thought he'd done a decent job today, so he's getting a 6.5. Ruben Van Gray obviously coming in for Vitaly Mykolenko at left wing back. I'm gonna give him a 6. I thought he was okay. Thought he at times looked really, really good, and at times didn't look really, really good. Very sort of hot and cold performance by Ruben Van Gray. There was times when he was getting down that left-hand side, using his quick feet to move, in and out, weaning in and out of players, move the ball in and out. There were a couple of times that he got down that left-hand side and put a couple of decent balls in. There was one in the first half, a really, really lovely dinked ball, very similar to the one that he put in for Dwight Mcneil's goal against Dynamo Kiev, his second goal, and it was what seemed like perfect height for Solomon Rondon to just literally nod in to an open goal, but obviously it ended up going over Solomon Rondon's head, and the reason for that is still unexplainable, and I think will remain unexplainable forever, to be honest with you. But then there were a couple of times when he got caught out defensively, got caught out on the ball, a couple of bad touches, couple of bad decisions on the ball going forward as well. Cutting the space in half instead of going on the outside and utilising the space. But I thought he was okay. Would I be confident that he'd be able to step in and do a job if Vitaly Mykolenko gets injured? I'm not so sure yet. But I thought he was all right. He was active. He was lively. I thought he was all right. Into the centre of defence then, Michael Keane. I'm going to give him a 6. Again, I thought he done well. In fact, no, I'll give him a 6.5 because I think very similar to Asmir Begovic's performance, really. He was okay. He was in there. Fleetwood didn't offer much threat whatsoever. As I said, they had a couple of opportunities where they, threatened, and we maybe were a little bit, that was a wake-up call, but they were half chances. They were shots from outside the box that were dealt with comfortably, or they were, little pockets of space in the box that were closed down fairly quickly, but, should never have been available anyway. So there wasn't really much for Michael Keane to do. There wasn't much defending to do. Obviously, we started with a 5 at the back as well, but I thought he was okay. Thought he held himself well. Thought he battled well. Thought he worked hard. Thought he moved, the ball well. Defended when he needed to, won the ball in the air when he needed to. Yeah, didn't think he was a problem. Reese Welsh, I'm going to give Reese Welsh a 5.5. I think he struggled at times. Now, don't get me wrong, obviously it was his first full debut, and, against a very, very physical team, a team with a lot of physicality in there, a team that love to kick and fight and throw themselves around and volley people for no good reason. And yeah, I thought he was okay. As I said, there was a couple of moments where I think positional wise he got caught. There's a couple of times when he got caught out wrong side of his defending and wrong side of his attacking and got caught out for pace. And there was a couple of decisions on the ball I think that he made which were poor. But he's a young lad. He's 18 years old, 19 years old, whatever he is. He definitely needs a loan, 100% needs a loan before he's ready to be sort of integrated into this squad. But for cup games against lower league opposition, he'll have enjoyed it. It'll have been good for him to get out there against the proper physical team and get a bit of experience. He's big, he's tall. You can see he's got all of the attributes to be a top player. He's just very, very, very early on in his development, and I think you could see that today. Seamus Coleman then, making his return to the team after injury. I'm going to give him a 6.5. Again, thought he was solid, thought he was decent, worked hard, battled, obviously went to right back towards the end of the game. When we reverted back to a 4-4-2. A 4 at the back. No, it wasn't a 4-4-2, 4-2-3-1, whatever it was. But I thought he was solid, Seamus. Thought he worked hard, defended well, very professional performance, a lot of professional defending. There's a couple of sort of, I think, stray balls that were given to him that he dealt with relatively well, I think. And yeah, I thought it was as expected. Professional performance, nothing too out of this world, nothing too, oh my God, to scream or shout home about, but just a good, solid performance by Seamus. I was impressed. Right back then, Nathan Patterson, I'm going to give him a 7. I think he was the best out the back four. Again, I think he was one of the best in an Everton shirt this evening. Work rate was exceptional, was getting forward, did have a couple of shots that I expected him to do a little bit better with. Because ultimately, again, I understand he's a right back, and I understand typically right backs aren't particularly great at shooting. Right backs aren't particularly great in those areas, but for an attacking right back, especially if we're going to persist with this 5 at the back formation with wing backs, if you've got a 5 at the back formation and your wing backs can't shoot or aren't particularly great at crossing the ball. Now, Nathan Patterson is good at crossing, don't get me wrong, but if we're playing Patterson and Mykolenko as attacking fullbacks, then when they're in areas like Patterson was in today, he needs to be able to shoot and he needs to be able to challenge the goalkeeper and give him something to do. And obviously we've seen Vitali able to do that at times. Last season, great goal against Leicester, good goal in pre-season against Blackpool as well. But I think we're to see that from Nathan Patterson. There was a couple of chances today where I think he could have done a little bit better with. But overall, defensively, he was sound, he battled, he worked hard, he got forward. He was moving the ball well. Yeah, I thought he was very, very good again. Into the midfield then, Alex Iwobi. I'm going to give Alex Iwobi a... what can I give Alex Iwobi? I'm going to give Alex Iwobi a 8 out of 10. Again, I think he was our best player. Obviously, was supposed to be starting as a winger today, which I think would have been interesting. Had Tom Davies had not picked up an injury in the warm-up, he would have been starting on the wing, but obviously Tom picked up an injury, so he dropped back into midfield, and TheMightyBlues Gray replaced Tom Davies, obviously going onto the wing. But I thought he was exceptional again today, Alex Iwobi. I said it in the instant match reaction, I'll say it again. He is always the player who is moving. He's always the player who is looking for pockets of space. He's always the player who's looking to pick the ball up, to move with it, to pass and move, to open up the game and really sort of challenge opposition players in of getting at him, marking him because of his constant movements. And the rest of the team could really, really, really do with looking at what Alex Iwobi does and trying to emulate that, because we've got far too many players who stand still until the ball is within 10-15 yards of them and then they decide to move. Whereas Alex Iwobi, if you watch him, he's constantly on the move, he's constantly moving. I mean, he must have covered, and I know this is a popular saying and a cliche, but he must have literally covered every blade of grass today. There was a part of the game where he was at left back, there was a part where he was at right back, he was at centre half at one point, obviously he was in centre midfield, he was up top, he was everywhere constantly because he was constantly calling for the ball, and you can't half see the confidence oozing from this lad. We're talking about a lad who 8 months ago, 9 months ago, even less than that, maybe even 6 months ago, didn't want to be anywhere near the ball, shied out of games, shied away from possession. Whenever he got the ball, he just tried to get rid of it, and when he wasn't on the ball, he didn't want it. Now, you're actively seeing him coming to collect the ball. You're seeing him saying, give it to me, I'll pass it, I'll go. I'll be I'll be the transition, I'll be the consoler. And as I said, you're actively seeing him coming out now and, calling for the ball, shouting for it, and we're seeing, Everton play through Alex Iwobi because, as I said, he's the only player at the moment who is doing that. Onana did it a little bit today as well, to be fair to his credit. But again, I thought Alex Iwobi was absolutely phenomenal today. Absolutely phenomenal, and my man of the match again. I'm going to do Onana. I'm going to give him a 7. Now, you might say that's a little bit too generous. Don't get me wrong. I think his passing was poor at times. I've just actually read his stats. He had 89% passing accuracy with something like 60-odd successful passes, something like that. So that would suggest that his passing was actually fairly accurate. There was a couple of times today where he evidently, played balls astray or played a pass a little bit too far from where it was an intended target or played it a little bit too light. But I think that will come with time. That will come with experience. And I've seen a couple of people saying, oh yeah, but Cam, we were playing a League 2 team and he couldn't do it. Reality is that's not how football works. Football doesn't work of, okay, he'll need time to settle in the Premier League, but if he plays a League 2 team, he should be the most unbelievable player in the world. That's not how it works. We've just played a team there in Fleetwood who are extremely physical, constantly throwing challenges in. They literally had a player who was there just to foul Everton players. He's not even a footballer. He was just there to foul Everton players. And everybody else in that Fleetwood team were constantly kicking out of players. And Onana was fouled, 10 times, maybe even more than that. He was fouled in possession. And one thing I think he done really, really well was put his body on the line, make himself a target, and then win fouls. He won 6, 7, 8 fouls by putting his body on the line, inviting that contact, and then going over and screaming and making the referee make a decision. And I think that will be really, really, really useful in the Premier League, because as much as it's useful to have a big centre midfielder who can pick the ball up and run with it and bulldoze with it, it's also useful to have somebody that can break the play up and win fouls when need be. And I thought he'd done that today. He did go on a really good and exciting run towards the end of the game as well, which would have been nice if that would have ended in a goal. It didn't, obviously. It ended in a foul because he was taken down once again. But I was relatively impressed with him. Look, does his passing need to improve? Yes. Does his touch need to improve? Yes. I actually was quite impressed with his movements as well. I thought he moved really, really well. Other than Iwobi, I thought he was probably the best on the pitch at finding space and picking the ball up and moving around. And he was involved. And look, it was a good 90 minutes under his belt. It will do him well. It will be good for his settling in period. He's very, 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 very raw, but I think you can see what he could be if he nails down the very basics of football, which he should have no issue with nailing down. But yeah, and then into the forward line, TheMighty Gray obviously starting the game unexpectedly. Wasn't supposed to start the game until Tom Davies picked up an injury. You know what? I'm going to give TheMighty Gray a 7.5. I think, as I said, other than Alex Iwobi, I think he probably was our best player on the pitch. Scored the goal, of course. Really, really nice, neat finish. Good play by Mcneil to Iwobi to Gray to finish it. Had a couple of other opportunities where I think he was looking for the Hollywood finish. He was looking for the Arsenal at Goodison Park last season, curl into the top corner, and it didn't quite work. But he was a threat. He was our only threat, which I think he deserves a lot of credit for, because he was our only threat. Mcneil wasn't a threat, and Rondon certainly wasn't a threat. And he worked hard, he battled when he was in possession, he was good with it. He had a couple of passes that he could have done a little bit better with, but for the most part, he dealt with it. He was very clearly, I think the worrying thing was it was only really TheMighty Gray that you looked at and thought he is significantly better than any of these Fleetwood players quality-wise. Rondon you looked at and you thought, this lad could play for Fleetwood and he wouldn't be out of place. Same with Dwight Mcneal, which was worrying. But Gray you looked at and you thought, yeah, he is significantly better than any of these Fleetwood players. So he deserves credit for that. Rondon, I don't know. I don't know. Rondon's getting a 4, you know. Rondon's getting a 4 because he gets marks for being a target man. He gets marks for running round. He gets marks for being there, effectively, for the second game in a week, which is mad. The reality is he's nowhere near good enough to be an Everton striker. Rondon's good for certain things. He's good to bring on for me with 10 or 15 minutes to go when you're winning a game and you just need somebody that you can lump the ball up to. They'll hold it up, they'll play it off, and they'll just be a battering ram effectively. What he's not good for is relying on him to score goals, relying on him to create chances, relying on him to find pockets of space, relying on him to run in behind the defender. Because the only time he runs in behind the defender is when he's 32 mile offside. So it doesn't count anyway. So we simply cannot rely on Solomon Rondon. For me, Solomon Rondon shouldn't even be Everton's second choice striker. Solomon Rondon should be ideally Everton's fourth choice, but given the circumstances, third choice, I'm willing to relatively accept. Second choice is just not good enough, and at the moment he's first choice, and that is just absolutely appalling because he doesn't score goals, he doesn't create. Yes, he's good for hitting the ball up to and holding players off, but that's not what we need him for. We need him to score goals. We need him to be in the box as a threat, and he's not a threat. And that's really, really worrying because if Everton haven't signed a striker by Saturday, then I don't think we've got any chance of winning that game of football. So, yeah, he done what you'd expect him to do. He was Solomon Rondon. And then Mcneil, you know what? I'm going to give Mcneil a 4.5 because you sort of expect it from Rondon. In fact, no, he's getting a 4. You sort of expect it from Rondon because we know what he is, we know what he brings, we know exactly the type of player he is. It's no surprise. Dwight Mcneal, I thought, should have done better today. Now, okay, he had an involvement in the goal, which was good. He played the right pass to Iwobi. But the reality is he should have been all over that Fleetwood team. And I know I've just said that, it doesn't quite work like that with Onana, but Onana's a young lad coming into a completely new country, in a completely new system. It was always going to be difficult for Onana to do that. Dwight Mcneal has been playing in this country all his life, and his quality should have certainly shone through today, and it didn't. I thought his passing was poor. I thought his movement wasn't particularly great. I thought he's got a distinct lack of pace, and I like Dwight Mcneal. I think Dwight Mcneal will be a success, but certainly not as a winger who we rely on for pace and to beat a man, because that's not the type of player he is. I think he will be a success if we've got a target man who's good enough to get on the end of crosses and score goals. But at this moment in this current system, it is really, really difficult to see how Dwight Mcneal becomes a success at Everton. And it's very, very early on, very early days, and I understand that, and I understand, we shouldn't judge a player very early days, but you look at him and I do sort of question, well, why? It's almost like the Delhi thing, isn't it? It's not a case of him being a bad player. It's not a case of him not being able to work in a certain system. It's a case of him not working in this system that Frank wants to play. Same with Delhi. Almost like, well, what was the point? But it's very early on, and I'm when Frank gets everybody back, we might see a different system that might suit Dwight Mcneil a little bit more. But I wasn't impressed with him today. Substitutes then, James Tsarkowski. He can have a 6.5 as well. Come on. Solidified the defence. Got in the referee's face when they were kicking players up and down, which was what he needed to do. And yeah, just got about, done what he needed to do. Wasn't on for very long, didn't have much to do, but yeah, was okay. Lewis Warrington, I'm actually going to give Lewis Warrington a 6.5. I'm going to give Lewis Warrington, I'm going to give him a 6.5. I was quite impressed with him. Thought he'd come on. Obviously, his Everton debut was, his competitive Everton debut. I thought he worked hard. Thought he battled. Thought he won a couple of really, really good headers. He won one that Rondon should have scored from, but obviously didn't score from. But he won a couple of good headers. He battled in the midfield. His passing was good. He was involved. Again, he was coming on and calling for the ball. He looked confident. He looked like he wanted to be involved. So you've got to respect him for that. And yeah, I thought he done okay. And then Stanley Mills, again, I'll probably give him a 6 because I don't think he was as involved, but similar. He was looking for the ball. He was looking to get involved. He was looking to I think sort of stake his claim on the game, and yeah, I thought they were sound, absolutely sound. But yeah, there you go. They are the player ratings. A win. That's all we asked for, earlier on this evening, and that's what we got. We're in the hat. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't exciting. But we won the game, and that's all that matters. And we're in the hat, and we move on now. If you have enjoyed this one, please do hit that like button. Massive, massive thank you to everybody for watching the live comments. Really appreciate it. If you're watching the YouTube video, leave your thoughts down below, and we'll get involved with as many of them as we can. We'll be back with the review to this game tomorrow, so don't forget to look out for that one. And if you haven't checked out the instant match reaction, please do so. Big thank you all for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Leave a like if you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you later.